everyone.
Good
So
morning.
I realise I need to do a bit of logistics here very quickly. Can we to my side? What do you think about having two people? Thank you so much. I've got my notes here.
Okay, so good morning everybody. Thank you Creative Mornings for having us. Inclusion underpins all the work that we do at the Other Box, so we're super honoured to be here and just share our journey with you and what we've learned over the last 3 years since doing the Other Box as well.
Yeah, I realised also that it was about 4 years ago, in 2015, that at a Creative Mornings event, during the community minutes, I kind of piped up. This was before I started the Other Box, before I even properly met Leyya, and I was like, so I want to do something about inclusion and diversity, because look, the creative industries are just not diverse. And here we are, 4 years later, doing a whole damn talk about it.
Oh, I love a good circle of life. Okay, so very quickly, show of hands. Please put your hand up if you've ever felt othered or underrepresented from the mainstream narrative. Whether our hands went straight up. Whether that's through your religion, your race, your sexual orientation, your gender, your mental health, if you have a disability. Put your hands up now, please. Well, the Other Box is for you. So, what is the Other Box? The Other Box is an award-winning platform for increasing diversity in the creative industries where we celebrate people of colour and people from other underrepresented backgrounds. And we set up in September 2016, mainly out of frustration that the diversity conversation wasn't very inclusive of people like us. It was very focused on gender, and gender was in very binary terms. So middle-class white women were getting their moment, and as working-class women of colour, we weren't represented across creative teams, across anything really, and we really wanted to just change that conversation to be more inclusive of everybody.
Yes, indeed. So, inclusion, what does it mean? The Oxford English Dictionary says it's the practice or policy of including people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalised. Now that seems quite straightforward enough, however, as Al kind of mentioned earlier, it's not actually that easy to practice. So for the next 20 minutes or so, we really want to take you through what inclusion, inclusivity really means for us, how much work it takes, and how we encourage other people to do it as well. I mean, for us, to be fair, there are a few things that underpin it, and we always try and make sure we go back to making it about telling stories, creating a platform, sharing opportunities, allowing other people to connect and create their communities, and fostering a culture of collaboration. Like no man or woman or person is an island, so just allowing that collaboration to happen as well.
So we do a lot of things at the Other Box, but our three main offerings are a creative community, which underpins all the work that we do. We do workshops and training, and then we also work on brand partnerships as well.
Yeah, but before we get into that, we just want to tell you...
Well, we're going to blind you first with all these clashing prints.
Classic. We wanted to just tell you a little bit about us, how we both individually got here. So, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Manchester, from a single-parent South Asian Muslim household. And throughout my whole life, I've really struggled with my identity and where I really belong. Being too white for my brown friends, being too brown for my white friends. And then when I graduated, really struggling to get a job in the industry and actively trying to change myself to fit in as well. Whether that was doing my hair a certain way, wearing certain clothes, even neutralising my accent to where I was trying to sound more like EastEnders, but actually Coronation Street was just coming through each time. And it wasn't until I met Roshni when I was 25, just before we started the Other Box, where I realised that what I needed was a community around me and people who looked like me, sounded like me, who just got me on a cultural level. So Roshni changed my life, basically.
So I was born in London, northwest London. Anyone from Wembley?
Harrow.
Yeah, what's up? Okay, northwest represented. So, I mean, all the family, friends, all my parents, they're all working class. We grew up in factories. A lot of my aunties still work in factories. McVitie's factories is nearby. There's a lot of aunties still doing shift work there. But it means that, we grew up in quite a mixed cultural environment. Brent is one of the most culturally diverse boroughs in London, I think. And it meant that, I was kind of growing up all around different world cultures. That was the norm for me. However, I still found, recently I just remembered a story about during my A-levels, I had written, did anyone here do A-levels like English? Yeah. Do they still do A-levels now? I don't even know. Anyway, I had written a creative writing piece for my coursework to submit, and it was about my first experience of getting my legs waxed. Now, if you're from a South Asian background, you might not be surprised to know that I first got my legs waxed at the age of 11, because we're obsessed with body hair, or the removal of body hair. So the piece I wrote was ridiculous. Like, it was funny, it was silly. Importantly though, it was nuanced, and it was totally related to my personal experience, the experience of my sisters, my cousins, family, friends around me. When I went to submit it, my English teacher told me that it wasn't right, it wouldn't work. And in the end, I ended up submitting a piece and getting a really good grade, I think the best grade in the year, obviously.
Humble as always, Roshni.
The piece I submitted was with a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white male protagonist. And it's only on reflecting on that now as a 32-year-old that I'm like, oh shit. Even then, even institutionally as a 16-year-old, our stories as brown women were being erased. We were being told our stories are irrelevant, we were being told they're invalid, we must prioritize the stories of the mainstream, the white mainstream narrative. So even back then that was happening. Fast forward into getting into the workplace, I did eventually become a writer, which is nice. But even then, within the creative industries, I found myself not reflected at all. And a few years in, I was like, hold on, the London that I grew up in was so mixed, but the London that I work in is not mixed at all. Where are the people? Where are my friends? Where's everyone that I grew up with? I started looking around a bit more, like industry lineups, judging for awards, senior positions. I didn't feel seen, and I really thought about quitting my job, which is tragic, because being a copywriter is really, really fun. I ended up going to loads of diversity events and panels, and that's where I finally came across Leyya.
Yes. So, how did we meet? So people think Roshni and I have been lifelong friends, and it definitely feels that way. But we actually met at a really undiverse diversity event, and we just had enough. So again, it was people talking about diversity, and it was a lineup of 8 people. Like, who does a panel with 8 people? 5 were women, but they were all middle-class white women. And again, we were like, where's the representation? We know there are people of colour within this industry. Why are we not being given the platform? Why are we not being given the stage like everybody else? So we decided to change things. Hey. So within a week, we combined our skills. So I'm very much, my mum describes me as a bull in a china shop. I kind of just make up as I go along. Roshni is very methodical. She's measured. She likes to think things through, and I'm not like that at all. I'm a designer by trade. Roshni's a copywriter by trade. So we just combined all of our skills, our networks at the time, and just started to have conversations. And within a week, our social media was up. We'd created a website through Squarespace. And yeah, the rest is history. It just took on a massive trajectory from there. But I think the reason behind our success was because we were just really honest about our situation, and we were like, we want to change things, and we're going to change things. We're not just going to talk about diversity, we're going to action it as well.
Yeah, and I think when we started, we weren't super sure what we were going to be. We were slightly blagging it. Who hasn't blagged it? I was blagging it again. But we did know that at the very core of what we did, as well as inclusivity, we wanted to be about storytelling, not stats. There's a room for stats, but that's not what we're about. We want to tell stories that are not given the space and time. But also, importantly, we wanted that inclusivity to be intersectional. So, just has everyone heard this term, intersectionality? It's making its way into the mainstream quite quickly recently, but I do just want to take it back and give credit to where the term was coined. So this is Kimberly Crenshaw. She coined the term in 1989. So as a concept, it existed already. She gave it a name. And I just want to read out what exactly it means, just to do it justice. So it's the view that women experience oppression in varying configurations and in varying degrees of intensity. Cultural patterns of oppression are not only interrelated, but they are bound together and influenced by the intersectional systems of society. For example, race, gender, class, ability, ethnicity, and that list can go on forever. So for us, as we've kind of mentioned already, we were women of colour from working class backgrounds. Various other kind of intersections of our identity were playing out, yet we were being totally ignored from this very binary conversation about diversity in the mainstream. For us, like, I can't split myself up into like the gender part of me and the race part of me and the class part of me and all the other parts of me for the different conversations. We realised that it has to come holistically.
And that's why we then created our creative community, and creating a space for people who have ever felt marginalised or underrepresented to come together and just share news with each other, share opportunities, and even just share advice with one another as well. And so what started off as a Facebook group has grown nationally and now growing globally as well, which is super amazing. We're at 2,500 members, and it's such a beautiful space to just have conversations and not feel like you're alone. So whether it's like, I've just seen this cool job opportunity, or I'm writing a piece for Refinery 29, and can you share your stories with me? We're getting people these opportunities, and it's just a really beautiful space for people to collaborate. So do join our Facebook group. It's a really, really beautiful space. Actually, we've got people from the Facebook group here. Hey, that's what we like to see. And by the end of it, you're all going to be part of it too.
So another thing we do with the community is run workshops for skills. So these are pictures from a copywriting workshop that I ran during the summer when I was quite heavily pregnant. And it was at my very first agency, The Writer, which is just down the road actually, in Borough. And I think I still am, the only person of colour who ever sat on that creative team. And so to fill that boardroom with women of colour who all were amazing, super talented, just needed that extra step to kind of take their copywriting to the next level. It was so empowering for me, and just amazing to see that, people come to us all the time, they're like, well, where's the talent bureau where to find women of colour copywriters? Here they are! Hello. So yeah, that was amazing.
And other things that we've done as well, so just being able to provide opportunities for them to sell their artwork as well. So this is our partnership that we did with Creative Debut. So we had a tank go through central London, because that's just how we do. And we did over 30 workshops, where all run by people from our community. So we had twerk workshops, we were how to make a zine, how to print, loads of different creative workshops, and all run by our community, which was amazing. And then we also did a zine fair where people were selling their products as well. So just providing as many opportunities like that as we can, just to give that platform. Top follows. So people always say to us, well, where's the talent? Where do we find these people? If you look, you'll find them, and that's the most annoying thing. So Top Follows was a social media campaign that we started just to begin to start showcasing the talents of people of colour within the industry. It's taken a little pause, but it's coming back in June. And so it still exists now. So if you're looking for role models, if you're looking for that representation, check out Top Follows.
Absolutely.
And so we also do fun things as well. So this is from our summer picnic as well. And we have a quick video that we wanted to show you from our birthday party. So we turned 2 in September, and we'd just gone full time with the other box. And Roshni just had a baby, and we just really wanted to celebrate and bring all of our community together. So enjoy the video. We set up the other box because we were tired of being invisible as people of colour, and I guess we're not invisible anymore, right? All so much for coming. So we're actually teaming up with some creative debuts in October for the anti-art fair. It's going to be amazing. There's lots of art from diverse artists, and when we say diverse artists, we mean fucking diverse artists. But we need to have a good time. There's loads of free drinks. There's pizza, there's donuts, there's cupcakes. Just enjoy yourself. Super proud of it. Our birthday cake said, smashing the patriarchy one slice at a time, and I loved it. But go to our parties because they're really fun.
So most recently one of the things we started doing for the community is a jobs board. Now I have to put my hands up and say we were adamant that we would not have a jobs board. because we care very much for the safety of our community. Having been there ourselves, we didn't want to be just like showing the jobs and opportunities for companies and agencies that we don't know are inclusive already and are not practicing inclusivity. However, we all got to get paid. We all got to pay the bills. So we have started a jobs board with a very heavy kind of warning and caveat that we haven't had the chance to vet those companies. And those that we have had the chance to vet will say very kind of openly. However, we are also big fans of hacking problems, and so the problem of inclusivity within the workplace, we've come up with a solution, or a number of solutions, which is really like the second key offering of what the other box does. So we do workshops and training within agencies, within companies, with employers, to really make them think hard about how they can be inclusive. We just want to take you through very quickly what those different workshops are. So our main one, Know Your Bias workshops, is like unconscious bias, but not dusty, and not boring, and not like death by PowerPoint. We get people on their feet, we get people moving around, talking, telling stories, importantly. Again, it goes back to like storytelling, and really thinking about who's not in the room right now, who's not being represented, what voices are being erased or misrepresented. And it's such a like world shift for a lot of people.
We also touch upon language as well, and language is one of the most important things about inclusivity, even seemingly harmless phrases and actually how loaded they can be as well. So we really kind of take a deep dive into that with the workshops that we do.
Yeah. The next step up from that is what we call the Diversity and Inclusion Ambassador Program. So this is like a 2-day program where people go into much deeper personal work, which we think is actually really important. Ourselves individually, we do a lot of like unlearning. There's a lot of unlearning to do, like how we've been socialized and conditioned through the education system, through the work system. So yeah, we get people within companies kind of becoming these ambassadors so that the people in the company can have someone to speak to, and they don't have to just always be ringing us up, because we really want to be empowering others to have those difficult conversations. And then the leadership initiative. So surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly at all, like leadership are stuck on how to talk about diversity and inclusion. They're not armed with the language, and therefore they are like paralyzed with fear of saying the wrong thing. So we started the leadership initiative to really like allow them to think differently about, again, language, and also like taking individual accountability, but also thinking about it from an organizational structural point of view as well. A few kind of final ones, that we do training and coaching, so that's like one-on-one coaching, and we have the other box consultancy. So we've come up with our own approach on how to think about diversity and inclusion in a way that will be impactful, long-lasting, and holistic, and intersectional, and get everyone involved as well. It's not just up to the diversity and inclusion leads or the diversity and inclusion forum to do this work. Everyone needs to be practicing this stuff.
And within a company as well, diversity and inclusion, we make sure that it aligns to our 3 key pillars, which is recruitment and retention. We look at company culture, and then we also look at bricks and mortar, which is the sort of physical and technological aspects and infrastructure of a company as well.
Yeah, just to that point very quickly as well, I think the thing that we found is like, people were like, oh, we want to recruit diverse talent, But our thing is, great, you're getting them into the industry. What are you doing to keep us there 3 or 4 years down the line? Like, people are getting disillusioned, we're dealing with mental health issues from having to deal with microaggressions every day. Our creativity is not being awarded the way it should be. So we really want to think, we do think about recruitment as well, but we also think about retention, so that we can get to the leadership positions where we're not represented enough at the moment.
And so I think it's really important to note with our workshops and training is that we are interactive, we're thought-provoking, it's a safe, judgment-free space that's interested in long-term change and focused on practical takeaways. So we're not just going to sit at the front and be like, blah, 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 blah. It's really getting people to think actively about how their roles within that company too. And what we're not is death by PowerPoint, guilt-trippy, full of boring stats, the PC police as well. So yeah, I think that's important to kind of make the point of.
Yeah, just creating that empathy so that everyone can feel they can have those conversations.
Okay. And then brand partnerships. So this is where we are interested in creating diversity in front of the scenes as well as behind the scenes as well. And everything that we do from the brand partnership perspective is around our community, so getting them involved in campaigns and things like that. So here's some examples. So this is our partnership with Skinny Dip for International Women's Day, where we did a sold-out talk and did a digital takeover as well, with 12 emerging creatives of colour who just deserved a platform. And just look how happy they were just to be able to share their story. And they're so talented as well, so check out the Skinny Dip Sisterhood on Instagram. Here's something that we did with Nike Georgia Smith for the release of Air Force One and her campaign. So again, including people from our community to be a part of this project. And very recently for International Women's Day, we took over the whole Apple Regent Street store, like crazy! And again, it was about just empowering our community to share their story and give them the platform, so really getting them involved with just celebrating themselves, and it was such a beautiful evening.
Yeah, a lot of the brand partnership work, I think brands and agencies are very interested in getting representation and inclusion in front of the camera. So we see lots of TV ads and like mixed race families and things like that at the moment. But we want to make sure that the same is happening behind the camera too, so that the stories that they're telling are authentic, nuanced and representative of people's lived experiences.
Because I think as well the problem is people think they use terms like BAME or people of colour and they think we're just a monolith, but actually we're so different within that, so we really wanted to share all the differences with that as well and celebrate the differences too. So what does the future hold? What does the future hold, Roshni?
So we started here in London. We've always been very conscious about not being too London-centric, so we are spreading. We're spreading beyond London, we're spreading beyond the UK, we're spreading beyond Europe, we're going global, everyone. I'm a bit shook, to be honest. But we want to make sure that this kind of work, the kind of intersectional, holistic way that people look at inclusivity, is spread all over the world. And to do that, we just want to make sure that the community carries on growing and people feel like they have a voice and a platform and opportunities to collaborate and share. We've also expanded.
Yeah, so we've just had our first senior hire, which is really exciting. So Seema, who's our head of fashion and global strategist, so we're going more into the fashion and tech sector as well because we've got work to do, massively. So yeah, that's kind of what the future holds for us. It's our 3rd birthday in September and we've learned a lot and we wanted to kind of share our learnings with you around inclusion and how you can apply it straight away in your everyday life. So number one, how can I be more inclusive? Number one,
use your platform to amplify the voice of others. So this is what we like to call pass the mic. When, I think people are, what am I trying to say? People like what is, oh my God, wow. There are lots of amazing individuals and groups out there doing amazing work, but I feel like the mainstream radio stations, workplaces, they kind of latch onto one and then go with that, and that becomes their go-to. So if that ends up happening to you, just try and share the platform as much as you can, pass the mic, make sure that if you're being approached to tell a certain story and it's not really your story, think about who else could be telling that story as theirs.
Number 2 is diversify your feed. So we all exist within our own echo chambers and it's super important to hear other perspectives and other stories from different people. So the other box is a really great place to start. We're always sharing amazing platforms that deserve the recognition, but also Galdem is a really, really amazing resource. Amalia, Black Ballad, Disability, that we're always sharing these sort of news. So do check out other things as well, just to kind of exist outside of your echo chamber and hear different perspectives. Because actually the mainstream media is very biased and dusty.
And we're going to leave you with this final thought, is to remember that inclusivity is a practice. So like going to the gym, like meditation, like learning to play a new instrument, it takes work every day. Small acts, medium acts, big acts of inclusivity can really shift the way you practice this kind of stuff. And just remember, like, even me and Leyya, we're constantly learning, we're constantly unlearning. It does take a bit of having to humble yourself, and that's fine. Like, there are opportunities and moments where you have to just sit back and listen. That's fine too. But just remember to be kind, and remember that it is a practice.
So yeah, that's the other box.
Thanks so much.